My name is Hervé Francois here with the Rosa Group. Jens, thanks very much. Tell us a little bit about yourself, the type of real estate investing that you are involved in out there in Albuquerque.
Yeah, so my Albuquerque portfolio is like 75 units now, and is everything from a couple of 11-unit deals up to a 38. So it's kind of the smaller size properties there, but those have been the ones that turn out to have the best value that we've found in that market right now. So that's kind of what we're looking at currently.
Great. How would you characterize overall multifamily investing in Albuquerque? And is it really that's where the best opportunities are in those properties under 40 or 50 units? Are there opportunities for bigger size multifamilies?
So definitely bigger properties that get listed regularly. You know, as you mentioned, it's 550,000 people. And then just across the river, there's Rio Rancho. So the MSA is over 1 million. So it's a fairly big city.
Mm-hmm.
So there are bigger apartment complexes that definitely do get sold. They tend to fetch prices that are a little bit higher than we would like to see in terms of the returns, because rents are pretty low. Average rents are probably in the $700, $800, $900 range, depending on the quality.
Right.
So, we got to buy at the right price for that to make sense, right? So,
Right.
We do see California investors coming in and paying more money than we feel like we can do to make a return.
California, that's what they do. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is that a lot of what's been going on? Has it been more of a, would you say seller's market because of so much interest coming in from outside buyers?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is moving that way. I started there 5 years ago, and at that time, we could find some deals, with a 7 or an 8 cap. Now I'm seeing and getting squeezed quite a bit, and people, they're getting priced out of a Phoenix, they're getting priced out of, Denver and some of these other cities, and they're like looking, where else can it go? And Albuquerque is just kind of there in the middle between, Arizona and Texas, and eyes are on that, and we've been seeing some prices going up there. So that's why we kind of focus on deals that are more value, like heavier value add, because we feel like there are a lot of like deals that needs a lot of work. So we've been successful buying them at, $30,000, $35,000 a door, and then putting a ton of money into them to really improve them. But that's a lot of risk and a lot of time too.
Yeah, no doubt. What would you say has been kind of like the average on your CapEx budget for the renovations? Even if you have it kind of like on a per unit basis, are you talking almost full gut that you are undertaking in these properties that you're acquiring out there?
I mean, one of the deals we did, a 38 unit, was the largest one we own there. It was pretty much, down to bare walls, rip out the flooring, rip out the bathtubs, toilets, and everything, even redoing some plumbing. So that was, more like a $15,000 to $20,000 door rehab, right? So significant amount of work that I wouldn't recommend for anybody unless they're local, because man, it is a lot of headaches there for sure.
Right. Yeah, when you think about the different type of markets and even neighborhoods, now we're going to drill down specifically into Albuquerque. In some of these cities, particularly at this one, 500,000 population, 1 million MSA. Are there, if you can describe as like certain side of the tracks that folks should think about investing versus other sides, and maybe that is dependent upon where the job growth has been occurring over the past couple of years, obviously schools and where the city has been putting its investments.
Yes, I mean, just a little bit of background about Albuquerque, right? It's not necessarily, it's a pretty slow growing market. I definitely would say that, right? And the major employers there are the military base. There's a big military base there. Because actually the nuclear weapon was developed in New Mexico, in Los Alamos, so they built a big base down there that's still doing some of that area, and a lot of contracts. So there's a lot of government contracts there. Okay. That's one area. This is still stable because it's highly paid and so forth, but that doesn't necessarily grow. The Netflix actually bought Albuquerque Studios, so Netflix are doing a lot of their domestic production in Albuquerque here. So that's exciting to see that.
Okay.
A big new distribution center growing too from Amazon on the west side of town. So there's some drivers of the economy that we're excited about. But historically, it's been a slow growing market, very linear in the sense that it doesn't experience the high growth or the deep declines, right?
Right.
Although the last few years the rents have been going up and other things. So it's changing a little bit, but it's still not a Phoenix. It's not a Dallas, so you
Sure,
gotta
of course.
remember that.
Yeah, I got to keep it in perspective, right? Got to keep it in perspective. So this more of a cash flow centric type of a market, which is kind of, really reinforces you looking for those deep value add plays in the area to really kind of go ahead and generate your return, whatever you can manage by doing a repurposing of the property.
Yeah, that's what we've done, right? Take some properties that were a little bit tired, they, kind of tired owners, and just buy them at the right price, put a fair amount of money into them, and then, going and refinancing them within, 1 or 2 years, depending on how quickly we can get it done. So that's been a model we've been following. Right. I like that model if you could do it like either yourself or with a couple of JV partners. I'm not sure it always works super well for syndication, because there's a long time before you can start paying out a decent return to investors, and there's a lot of risk. So I would do it again as a JV, not as a syndication, because I just don't feel like the risk profile is quite right there.
Oh, okay. All right. So probably not as a syndication. Would you lean more towards syndication if it was a larger size deal, larger size transaction?
Larger transaction and a little bit more stable. So, that typical value add, you put, $5,000-$7,000 in per door, and you don't have to do these major lifts, because there's just, my experience has been those major lifts just carries a lot of risk and a lot of unknown, and just labor problems and material costs and everything else. So it's just, I don't, I would do it for my own stuff, but I won't necessarily bring a bunch of investors in on a deal like that. I would.
Right. Is the market, because you said that rents have been picking up over the past couple of years, is the market, would you say, getting a little bit more open to new development in the area?
Yeah, I do see some development coming. There's another challenge with that city, is that it's on 3 sides. It's surrounded by land you can't develop. So there's the military base on the south. On the east, there is, basically open space, mountains and wilderness. And on the north side, there's an Indian reservation. So it's really capped in 3 directions where you can't grow.
Right.
There's no more land. So you have to go west, and west goes forever because it's just desert. Right. But then you end up with the urban sprawl and all those things, right? So there is definitely some areas. And I think you asked, which area should people focus on, right? So there's a few areas that I like as in kind of, buying an existing property. It's around what's called the university area, or also called Nob Hill.
Okay.
That's kind of downtown. Even the historic Route 66 goes through there, and there's the bars, the restaurant, the college students. So that's a fairly attractive place to live. Then further, if you're more family oriented, you want, a bigger place, bigger apartments, newer apartments. There's you go towards the northeast further, kind of northeastern parts of town is a little bit, newer, and there are some complexes going up there along some major shopping corridors and so forth in those areas.
Okay.
If you want to know where not to invest, I can also talk about that.
That is just as important. Absolutely. Please share, please.
So, and this is what a lot of new investors, myself included, right? You look at, it's so cheap, let me just buy there, without really thinking about the consequences of where you're buying. And there's a lot of older properties in what's called the International District, also fondly referred to as the war zone.
Oh boy! You would never typically equate International District with war zone.
Yeah, it's that's the official name, is the International District, and there's definitely some interesting parts of it, but there's also some very rundown and kind of like C-D neighborhoods around.
Right.
The fairgrounds, it would be east of the fairgrounds. If you ever look at a map, you can see. So that northeast, the southeastern part of the city, you gotta be very careful, because this can be some, block by block. Some blocks are really awesome. Others are like, stay away, right? Gotcha.
So this Nob Hill, is it safe to say that's the center of town when you describe, the military base to the south, the mountains to the east, Indian reservation up north, and then a lot of desert to the west? Is Nob Hill in that downtown more center?
Yeah, and it's funny because that city is pretty spread out, but there is a downtown. So the downtown is a little bit further west from that Nob Hill area, and the downtown has not traditionally been a lot of residential. It's been more like the government and businesses and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, Nob Hill is towards downtown. You're a mile or two away. There's also Old Town because it is a historical Spanish city. This is part of Mexico.
Sure.
Mexico. So the downtown is pretty cool. And I think you can maybe find, if you're looking to do Airbnb and stuff, maybe you can find some smaller properties to do that, right? But
Got it. So you would say that a lot of the cap, would just, I guess kind of like average cap rates for the things that you're looking at, are they closer to 6%? I said, you said 5 years ago they're closer to 7-8%. They've kind of contracted to that 6%, a little bit more.
Yeah, even the larger, if you get a Class B, it's probably like in the 5.5. I've seen some stuff being listed like that. So 5.5, 6.5, depending on the quality, but definitely gotten compressed. And I'm not seeing a lot on the market. I'm seeing some pretty high prices these days. But we just recently found the deal on Craigslist. Somebody was listing it. It was 11 units, so not too big, but we're able to get that at the reasonable price. And so you got to be a little bit creative, right?
Yeah, well, that's a segue into what was going to be my next question. It was like, for an investor that would be interested in, coming into Albuquerque for the first time now, how would you recommend to them the best way really to look for deals in the area? Is it, Craigslist, LoopNet? Is it trying to, reach out to commercial brokers in the area, or going directly to the owners? Where have you and your members found the most success?
Yeah, I mean, it's, the brokers are kind of probably your best choice, right? There's a few very high-profile brokers there that sell that mid-size, the 10 to 50 unit. There are a few, and you can definitely find out. There's actually a website you can go to, carnum.com, that lists most of the commercial stuff, the smaller commercial stuff in Albuquerque. Then, of course, you have the Northmark, you have the CBRE, those bigger brokers that tend to sell the, the 100+ deals there.
Gotcha.
We've had some luck with, I have a partner who is also a broker. So he has had some opportunities to find some deals dealing directly with the sellers or the owners. So that has helped. And I actually found a deal through some direct mail a few years ago when I was active in that. But again, that's a smaller, it's a 16 unit. So
Gotcha.
If you're going to buy a 200 unit deal, you need to work with the big brokers. To find those.
I would say that's probably the case in a lot of the cities that you want to do deals that large. That's how we, landed our most recent acquisition in Winston-Salem. How do you see that, transitioning? How do you see that changing over the next year or two? Are you going to kind of remain on the same path of deep value add in these sub 50 unit type assets, or, branch out either on size and or location?
If I can find another deal that I can buy by myself, that I can finance by myself, or at least take down by myself, I will do that, because I like to have smaller deals. That is my kind of buy and hold portfolio. Again, it has to be the right price, because I know the amount of work that's required. So I would do that. I would love to do a syndication there, but haven't found a deal that made sense yet. So me and my team, we've branched out and we're investing in other states because we're finding better deals there.
Gotcha.
So we're active in Ohio and Pennsylvania and so forth, because we can find the syndications that work there. It's just we haven't done that in Albuquerque yet, and
right.
It's again, I want to make sure if I get into something that I can create a decent return for my investors, and that's my key goal there. Personal, I can have a longer time horizon, and I'm not afraid of rehab for sure.
Right. Just switching real quick back to the macro. You think about the companies that have come in, to Albuquerque over the next several years. Is there talk in there, whether it's the city council, any kind of community boards, other companies that are slated that are kind of planned on coming on that could really drive some growth in the area over the next year or two?
I think people that want out of California, the taxes and stuff, they probably look for Phoenix first, maybe Dallas next, but then Albuquerque, it could be a good place. I've seen like some call centers have moved there. I've seen, as I mentioned, Netflix bought the studios a few years ago. That new Amazon distribution center, there's definitely a lot of employment in the construction phase of that. Facebook has a data center just south of town. So some of those things, but I just see kind of like trickle of news, things have changed a lot this year, obviously, but, just trickle of people moving, trying to find lower tax, lower cost areas,
Sure. It's going to be just more folks driven. I guess more transients coming in from your neighboring Western states more than anything else.
Yeah, it is. And, it's, New Mexico is, it's a poor state. It's not where the highest educated people are and the most, development is going on, so you have to think about what kind of company you are. You probably wouldn't move from Silicon Valley to Albuquerque if you were a tech company. Yes. But if you are like, hey, you want some slightly cheaper labor or, those types of things, it could be a good target market for sure.
Gotcha. How is, obviously we're looking forward to the end of this year because it's been a crazy one with the pandemic and everything else like that. Specifically to, your properties, multifamily investing, how have rent collections been in the area? And, has there been any let up on that? Has there been, pickup in whether it's foreclosures or, folks just having a rough time because of furloughs, and layoffs and things like that?
Yeah, it was kind of a scary time early in the year when all the lockdowns started, but we've actually been surprisingly, knock on wood, I don't think I've had to evict anybody, or even there's nobody that is so far behind. We had a few people being behind on rent, but nothing serious. So we've been pretty blessed with that. A lot of people they're staying put and they realize, paying rent is pretty important.
Yeah.
So they've been doing that, and my vacancy has been pretty low most of the year. Just people have been. We're in the 90s, mid 90s, mid upper 90s. So
wow,
it's been much better than I expected. Unfortunately, New Mexico locked down again here on Monday, so it's pretty tight and locked down for a bit. So I think there's going to be maybe some pain associated with that.
Right.
But we'll have to see how it develops.
Yeah. Well, listen, hopefully that lockdown gets lifted, sooner rather than later. And, we'll see what these vaccines, miracle vaccines are talking about,
hopefully.
From a distribution standpoint and stuff like that. No, that's great to know. It's great to know. How can we help you out and things that you're doing out there in Albuquerque and with Open Doors?
Yeah. I love for people to reach out to me. I do some coaching too. And, if people want to learn about the Albuquerque market, my email address, I think, is shown there. They can just reach out, even get on a free call with me and go to opendoorscapital.com/call and schedule a call. I always love to talk to people and create connections that way. You never know if we can partner on something.
Jens, thank you a lot. Stay cool out there. Obviously, stay safe, and good luck with all your investing out there.
Thanks, Harvey. I appreciate it. A lot of fun.
All I can say is aim high and happy hunting.